Start streaming.
Tony Caravan.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't. Quality, quantity, and variety.
Rock Flux.
Making up the rules as we go along.
And welcome to another show. 5:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the former United States. And
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
that's the name of the show. And I had a different shirt on before, but I had to change it to one of these Hilo Hattie, Hilo Haiti, and make it Hawaiian Shirt Friday. Goofy things people do. I think I tried having a Hawaiian Shirt Friday once, or many times when I was a so-called boss at some place. And that was even before the movie The Office. And then I realized, after seeing The Office, what an idiot. What an idiot I was to have Hawaiian Shirt Friday. Or did the writer of that movie somehow, I don't know. Did I create Hawaiian Shirt Friday? I don't know. It's hard to say. I created a lot of other things. The ego on this guy is like amazing. And the fact that his eyes are only half open, you know. I went to sleep last night. I went to bed. Look at the ice cubes on. I tried to put so many ice cubes in here this time. If I could get them up to the point where you can see them, it's virtually impossible with this microphone. Let's see if we can raise a glass. See the ice cubes hanging out the top? I tried to put enough in so they won't have to leave to get more. Yeah, I was listening to that song, that Steely Dan song the other day. We seen the last of good King Richard. And I guess it was like a, you know, some kind of cut down of Richard Nixon or something like that. Who to this day, I don't think, I think was like, you know, one out of like 3 or 4 of the last American presidents. You know, I mean, we don't have a president anymore. I mean, I don't offend people, and it's a little bit political statement, but, well, it's not a little bit of a political statement, but I mean, really, it's kind of a corporatocracy. So, I mean, president, what president? And the media prove that they can supersede the voters. So it's beyond. It's actually gotten beyond the point of being a corporatocracy. In other words, big tech and big pharma and all those other ridiculous criminal organizations running things. It's, you know, media is part of the corporatocracy. But, you know, however you want to like carve it up, that we show the media, and we still see it going on today, that the media wing of the corporatocracy or whatever still, you know, violates the will of the people, right? And ignores the Constitution. So the very thing that the First Amendment, which Congress shall make no law, you know, and it establishes the freedom of speech and the press and all that stuff, but, or shall, you know, and shall not abridge freedom of speech. So the First Amendment not only like basically destroys big tech's terms of service, right, and hiding as private companies, right? That in the First Amendment basically says, no. Congress can't even make no law doing that. And then it establishes also the, you know, it reinforces the idea of the press, freedom of the press. And the press is in violation of the First Amendment as well. So it's like you don't even get into you just start the Bill of Rights and you get like into the first sentence of it, and it's like, a total, these days it's a total aberration. And that's why I say it's a corporatocracy. I'm half asleep. I'm sorry. I could have went back to bed, but I literally laid down. I was tired yesterday. I laid down to bed around 6:30 or something like that. Which means I could have gotten up at 2 and technically had 8 hours of sleep. So if you consider I got up a couple times in the middle of the night, add that up, that getting up at 4, which I did, 4:30 or something. So I at least had 8 hours of sleep. So it's one of those things. Here's another one of these things I got yesterday I just had to share. 35% interest. All right. Now, this is another thing that they allow. And see if we can focus here at the bottom. The annual fee is $75. Program fee, $89. I've never seen that one before. And then there's some kind of $75 annual fee. I know it's hard to focus because of just the way things are right now with the lighting. So they're charging, so this is like some total Visa, thing. I guess I'm going to cover my name. People steal these things. I mean, I don't even know why I bother tearing it up, because all of your information, there's no privacy in the U.S. I mean, let's face it. And they make these dummy cards that have your name and the thing that your acceptance code and stuff on it. It's like you can't tear it. All right, that's number 1 on the list of like going through things before. Let's see.
Really funny. Really funny. What do you mean?
Yeah, you're funny. You're funny, man. I gotta wake up. Does caffeine help? Does it really? I don't think so. I really don't think it works. Yeah. You could drink water. I mean, really. So anyway, I got another one of these in the mail. And this has to do, the name of this thing is the same as what I'm holding up. Right? I don't know. Everything's out of whack. These things are, anyway, there's a catalog by that name.
Okay.
Anyway, did I say good morning? And so this is where they send these out to anybody. And you have instant credit. I don't know what they start you at $600 or something like that. But this is the first page of the catalog. And it's frickin' sneakers. Like, I always thought the name Puma was like outdated, like gone from days gone by. Puma women's whatever running shoe, $82.99 or as low as $12.99 per month. There's another one for $79, $82. I'm just trying to, the lighting here isn't the greatest right now. My voice doesn't hit directly into the microphone. Yeah, they're all above like Puma. I mean, you used to be able to buy Puma in something like some store called Town and Country, sneakers for like $10. And now people are like looting stores for them and paying $80. Or monthly, it's like over $100 some bucks, I guess, if you do it monthly. Sneakers. It's a frickin' pair of sneakers, man. Reeboks. What's another name that's gone the way that, you know? And good old Keds. Jeez. They got shoes for toddlers that are selling for like $64.99. Sneakers. Skechers. Toddlers and kids rainbow racer light up sneaker. $54.99 or $12.99 a month, which means $64.99. $65, and if it's $12.99 a month, that's probably over a year. So it means, you know what, $140 or something. I'll tell you, man, this country's out of control, and and this is what will be done with that money. You know, they say they want to pull kids out of poverty with this new payment, you know, this child tax credit, which is really actually a cash payment to people. And so instead they sell out, you know, because everything's by zip code, right? And of course, everyone's got to get their large 4K, you know, TV. Or these speakers. Look at the speaker system down the bottom. $29.99 a month. How many months is that? They don't even tell you. It's probably like 3 years or something. I had today, we'll see if yesterday my stomach was like, you know, it didn't end well. So this morning, rather than eggs and sausage, I had yogurt granola with some coconut and fresh blueberries, sprinkled with a little bit of raw honey and cinnamon. Combination of, you know, some of the healthiest things in the world, really. I'm starting to wake up a little bit, I think.
Okay.
So I'm still in the show and tell portion of this thing till we get into the main topic and stuff like that. On this Hawaiian Shirt Friday. It's July 23rd in the calendar year 2021. And if you happen to be one of those people trapped under ice after the upcoming event, you see that guy there? That's what it's going to be like outside. And DARPA has this contest. Like, you don't even know about this. The contest is still open. I think it ends soon, though. And the contest was for people to develop some sort of droid, right? Some robotic device that was able to bore through ice and then read some kind of barcode to open a door to an underground shelter that could be buried, you know, as much as a mile under ice. Now, when you hear me say that, I'm going to continue with the show and tell in a second, but I have to show you. This is real. DARPA, okay? That's the Defense Department, all right? That's the program that, well, actually that's where the internet came from originally. more or less. Like literally decades and decades ago. And so the CIA has already released formerly classified documents, still heavily redacted, but that they've known about this since like the 50s or the 60s. This event that's coming up within the next 10 to 20 years. Could be tomorrow. They can't pinpoint it. There is one guy, Doug Vogt, VOGT, Dihold Foundation, just to give him credit. He has pinpointed it to 2046 in like October or something like that. But then there's other guys like over at Suspicious Observers, Ben Davidson, that pretty much is like doing a daily observations of solar activity and geothermal and magnetic fields of the Earth and the sun and all that kind of stuff. And he's basically got it down to like, you know, it could happen tomorrow, 10 years, but like vote, but definitely within 20. And so this little photo on the right, this is actually a real photo. Okay. You know, I forget where this is, you know, where this is taking. I have a feeling this is northern latitude. You know, my first thought was, but like maybe an Antarctica thing, but no, this is like some kind of frozen, you know, those are like icicles. Antarctica is just buried in ice, you know, because it never really thaws. And so this is probably some northern area. But this is probably an accurate picture of what it's going to be like after the first, you know, because this is like one of those, you know, that you hear the term 1-2 punch. Well, this is going to be more than a 1-2 punch. This is going to be like a 1, 4, or 5 punch. I don't know why I'm getting these. I got to turn my email off. Sorry for the delay. And so, did you hear what I said? DARPA has got a contest and somebody's going to be awarded $1 million, you know, I don't know, it's $1 million or something in that or higher, just to win the award to build or whatever this robotic device that can bore through ice, read some kind of barcode type of thing, you know, that's the best way to describe it, on this door of this shelter where these ruling elites plan to ride out this catastrophic near extinction level event that is due to occur sometime within the next decade or two. Yeah. That's real. And the outside world's going to look much like what you see in this image. The only difference is that guy wouldn't be standing there. Because anybody outside. See, you would be the 1-4 punch, so to speak, is the Earth's going to, you know, is you're going to be fried and then frozen, you know. And there'll be floods, tsunamis like a mile high over the continents, you know, and then the atmosphere. It's just, you know, I mean, we're talking about the ultimate catastrophic event. Somebody was watching and they like ran because they think, oh, this guy's wacky. People are so afraid to deal with reality. And the funny thing about this is real. You could go to the DARPA, you can go to CIA and .gov and look this stuff up, right? And nobody's talking about it. Instead, they're talking about things that are like just fear-mongering people. Anyway. Title card, The Morning Show. Are you having fun yet? And I think the title of the show was T.G.I.F. Friday, something like that. T.G.I.F. Do you feel that way? You know, happy Friday. I don't have Messenger hooked up even, I don't think, but I'll try to figure something out. But so, yeah, people are whacked out, man. Let me get rid of this thing. We're still in the show and tell part of the thing. This is what's called a transistor radio. All right. That thing dangling down is just like it's called a whip antenna they used to put on these things. And so you would take this to the beach. You see how in the back there's like a little metal thing? That's so you could set it and it would be like rest like this, you see? And then you turn it on. Yeah, it worked. Transistor radio. This is the original things, you know, this is like before. If I can get it here to stay without falling and knocking a million and one other fucking, sorry for the one. And behind it is its predecessor, which would have been the tube radio that you can't even see the full extent of it. That thing's way longer than just the arrow, you know, the gauge of that. That's an AM only radio that runs on tubes. And people would have had that in their kitchen or on their, maybe in their bedroom nightstand or something like that. Things. I just got yesterday one of those for my voice assistant thing. One of those plugs that you can plug something into, and so you can voice assistant say, turn on the lights, you know, light or whatever. And yes, I decided to have a couple of drinks yesterday. There's my bar. That's what it looked like yesterday. It's pretty cool. Beer light. You see where I would sit, the one towards the left-hand side. I think I'm saying that right. Like I say, this is a mirror within a mirror within a mirror, the way my monitor works. But that's the bar. It's right next to this room. See my draft beer and the ashtray and cigars, the refrigerator behind the bar. See, it's a lot different than the last time you've seen that other picture I shown. But I only had like 2 beers yesterday. I'm training myself to be like those people on TV in the movies, right? They come home from work and they just go to the refrigerator and grab a beer, and then that's that. You know. So it's like 2 beers. It was fine. I listened to some decent music. I was actually listening to like Motown yesterday. But they kept putting like Lionel Richie and people like that. So I'd have to like, fortunately I could hit the, excuse me, script. I can hit this thing, use my phone app that also goes with the voice assistant Echo Dot thing. That sounded like a slurp that you probably heard. So yeah, it's pretty
This is insane. This is insane.
yeah, this is insane. But no, this is all serious. That's serious. No wonder people are whacked out of their minds. But they're hiding this from people, this idea, this concept, this near extinction level event. Yeah. The great age of exploration. That photo's probably, it could be 100 years old. Really. To me, it seems like it might be, But I would say at least, no, I'd say 80 to 100 years old. Because it would, they wouldn't have been doing that stuff necessarily during WW2. That was such a crazy time. Yeah. Bonus image, I decided I'd keep a picture of Gilda up for a day or a couple days. Geez, how could you not? Rock Flux, Gilda, man. She was something else. But yeah, there's almost 2 months left officially in summer in the northern hemisphere, as we call it. And I know a lot of people in Europe, particularly, Germany, but the whole swath, like there's a whole line, across the planet, straight through to China that are experiencing really, bad flooding events. But they're cyclical, and like I said yesterday, you don't like to speak ill of anyone during a tragic time, but in the case of the Chinese, they didn't really build those dams properly. They rushed all that stuff. And I don't know, there is no excuse for Germany because, there's some of the best engineers, if not the best engineers in the world, are the Germans. So it's just a matter of our society falling apart at the seams. And, there's always the blame game. I mean, this doesn't make much sense while I'm talking about this, so I guess I'd be better off to just even put something like that up while we talk about this. But, the media is good with the blame game. Like let's blame it on 0.004 CO2 or people or something like that, But the blame is that we basically, took our eye off of the proverbial ball. And we're allowing, Western civilization is falling apart at the seams. And people are not enough people are coming up in the ranks to fill the void left by those retiring, those who have come before them. They're preoccupied with a million and one different things. So we're on the precipice of, the next cataclysm that occurs every 12,000 years. And the average person doesn't even know about it because the media is focusing on something I can't even get into because then they'll use that as an excuse to take the video down. I mean, it's absurdity beyond absurdity beyond absurdity. And to some people,
this is a nightmare. It must be a nightmare.
People would rather think about something like this. This is an actual. I know this now. this is disgusting. Okay, my seat is falling down all the way down to the ground. It went all the way down. My Hawaiian shirt. Oh, you do that, then everything attached to my chair. It's crazy. It's just insane, you know. Geez, it's like
This is insane.
So there's a story behind this ridiculous thing. All right, the color on it is weird. Like that lettuce at the top almost looks colorized. It's just it was the lighting of the camera or something, or I don't know, or maybe he did the goof. Actually, it is colorized probably. I actually took this picture for some bar, some guy, some goofball. The bar's no longer in business because of the mismanagement of this individual. And yeah, that picture of that weird burger, whatever it was called, I think I did have to colorize that top. In print, it didn't look as bad as this because you got backlighting from your internet, from your device, whatever device you're using. But it was like the white iceberg lettuce he had on there. I mean, this is how dopey. And this guy was supposedly the chef, but he was like the part owner, but he was like the kitchen chef guy. Not that he has went to culinary school or anything like that, but he was the chef, so to speak. And so this is like some kind of ultimate ridiculous burger, blah, blah, blah. Those are jalapenos on there. Obviously, you wouldn't want to trust that meat. It looks pretty rare, and those kitchen conditions in that place were bad. I once ate something. I got sick for 2 days, But some people look at this kind of thing. So yeah, he put iceberg lettuce on the top of it, like the white kind, part of it. This chair, if this keeps doing this is like going to ruin the show. It's getting beyond the point. And I have 3 things to fix every time I do that. I don't know why it's doing it. So this may be the end of this chair and the end of the show subsequently. So, but this is just an example of what people have done, instead of worrying about levees, dams, bridges, houses with pylons, building rounded shape, dome related type of weather resistant buildings and structures, and instead they're just building stick buildings and piling dirt up. I think it's going to hold back a 30-year flood. I don't know if you ever hear that. That was like some 18-wheeler going up a neighborhood street where the speed limit's 25 miles an hour, and he had to been at least going like 60. That's another problem with this world, with this Western civilization. Speaking of Germany, this isn't the Autobahn. It's a neighborhood. So yeah, look at that disgusting thing. First of all, there's no mouth. What kind of mouth could even like take a bite out of that thing? Number one. I mean, you'd have to try to like really scrunch it, so to speak. But iceberg lettuce. So the world's falling apart. And we've got imbeciles, doing stuff like that. And we're just ignoring this beauty. She was our bonus image. And I don't want to, let's, remember, I don't want to forget about her, because she always will have a place in our hearts and minds on this show. So now I'll get into something else. So I took a picture of that burger, and it was for an advertisement that I did. And so I was publishing, editing, graphic designing, laying out. I mean, it's like, you name it. I was doing all of this ridiculous stuff, even kind of food reviewing in some cases. But it's just one of those other things, like I say, I do all these stuff. Like, so here's was a more of a serious, here's something I did here when I moved here, like the second year. And this is one of my, this is kind of a neat piece of photography, including this embossed rock flux thing here, which is just an effect in Photoshop. But I did a pretty good job. It really looks like it's embossed on paper. But all this really was towards the end of the season. I had these flowers that I have growing again this year. They're kind of look like they're in the marigold family when you look at the seeds. But they're bigger. They're almost the size of like carnations or something. And this is the process. I just wanted to demonstrate the process of how flower to seed, so the flower is still there. The bees at this point, when you look at where you see the yellow and you still have the petals, so to speak. The bees will go in there and just grab as much of that pollen out of there. And once that's all eaten up, then it starts to wilt. And then once it wilts, then it starts to basically dry out and decay. That's the middle flower piece. And then once it goes to the next stage, the seeds start to clearly form. And then you just wait a little longer, break it up, and there are the seeds. And the idea is from one of these plants, you get this pile of seeds. I was talking to someone yesterday about this. Every one of those little, lines, and these are tiny things that, if you've ever seen like a marigold or a flower seed like this, this is a tiny thing. They're really small. But every one of those individually will yield a enormous, in this case, these plants grow to be about 3 feet tall and have multiple, like it could be a couple dozen of these beautiful flowers, and not just yellow, different colors. I mean, they're the type of things you would see in a florist, and really, I mean, I've put them in vases or whatever you want to call them. But anyway, so this is this is an example of my serious trying to do, serious photography ideas, like, an exhibit piece, right? It's kind of neat, isn't it? Yeah, I mess around with everything. And this gives you an example to see how the Rockflux logo was made to be on a white background. Pretty cool. Photography. Disaster. Fun in your own house. The freedom of living. And if you look at the July calendar on that refrigerator, it's me with a cowboy hat and a dog. You can see I have a little beer bottle on the 22nd, so that was yesterday. That's a picture from yesterday. That was the beer I drank yesterday. Cigar I smoked yesterday. Yeah. But yeah, are you having fun yet? That's the title of this show. Everything you know is wrong, you know? And Rock Flux that I designed decades ago, at least 2 decades ago, over 2 decades ago, with the lightning bolt coming down through the planet, I was already warning about this, thing that we're heading into. And my thing is, are you having fun yet? Because if you're not, you better start. Okay? It's a beautiful world. I got a text from photographer Trey about he's taking some picture around 6:30 or something. I'll try to get that on if I can. We'll see how it goes. But the idea, 10 or 20 years before this cataclysm. I mean, it's a fairly long time. We're talking about a near extinction event. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Who knows? There could be 9 billion in 20 years if it takes that long. Who knows? This thing could happen soon. And I watched some, different people talking on YouTube, respectable people, people that don't, that aren't fear mongers or anything like that. And, showing clips of mainstream news, what the real fear mongers are saying. And some of these so-called government people who are really just corporatists working for the corporatocracy. And, it's like last year, it's a year and a half all over again. And, you have to mince your words because, like I say, you're walking on eggshells to keep your show together. And I have fun doing this kind of thing. I've made that, the beach ball, the title cards are fun. Not all my title cards are great. There's been a couple lately that I haven't been that proud of because I've kind of rushed things together. This damn chair is shrinking down again. I mean, I might as well let it go to the floor, and be a little person, and do this show with just my head peeking off the bottom. Oh, and I got these are switches for my speaker in my bathroom that I'm hoping I can hook up so that the volume doesn't just blare in your ear. And I've got a note over here that I wrote while I was drinking to plant Swiss chard today. And I also need to find one of these. It looks like a miniature old-fashioned Christmas bulb, but it's actually from like an old nightlight, which burned out my garage. Now I have a modern nightlight that I'm going to put in today. Yeah. The chair just keeps going down. Crazy. I don't know what to say.
Funky.
Yeah, it's funky device, whatever it is. So I'm struggling. My back's bothering me because I'm not sitting on the chair right. I keep adjusting it, and every time I adjust it, my seat's messed up. And the thing I had set up here, I had a nice setup. Everything was nice and cool and funky in a good way, you know. So are you having fun yet? And I don't mean today. Are you having fun this summer? Yeah. Does T.G.I.F mean anything to you anymore? Right? Or is it just another day? You know, Hawaiian shirt Friday just as a gag. Does it mean anything? You know, are you
Really funny. Really funny.
having that kind of laughing, you know, with people? Real genuine laughing? Not like SNL type of like laughing at people, smirky, forced, ha ha ha, right? Or like stuff you see on media people, right? You know, just kind of hateful laughter. You know, fear mongers making fun of people, scaring the death out of people. Instead of just the concept of a beach ball. I just think about like all the things that a beach ball brings to mind, you know. Innocence, fun, beach, pool, backyard, childhood, summer, fun in the sun, you know, that kind of thing. It's just a little plastic, round, inflatable ball, a toy. Maybe playing with your dog using its nozzle to push the thing around in your backyard. Having fun with a pet companion or your children. Or just goofing around with it like almost like a volleyball or something. Or somebody showing off their soccer, you know, skills and kicking at it and hitting it with their head and stuff. But the idea of general, no matter where it is, what it is, a simple little inflatable thing that represents fun. And are you having fun? And again, not with a beach ball. You know, that's not the point. It's just a representation of a concept of fun. Or are you so afraid? Now, what I heard yesterday, see, I don't care about any of this like idiocy that's going on. Because I, you know, and I don't want to toot my horn, toot, toot, toot. But I basically, I bailed. I bailed 5-6 years ago because I saw this stuff coming. And that's why, you know, this is my set. This is where I am. And I set this up and I'm able to do all this stuff. And so I don't care how, you know, I don't care how whacked out they get out there. Because I don't have to go to work. I'm done working. I worked. I put in my 40 plus years, you know, of work. So the heck with that. had, did my jobs, mentored people, served on, as a volunteer on various boards, supported charities over the years. I did my stuff. I did what I had to do, or, I did it all. I did that. And then I wrote all these books and all these songs and stuff and do all these shows to try to share and help and, impart this knowledge or experience with you, the good and the bad, saying, hey, I've openly admitted to screw ups I've had, but the lessons to be learned from when you make a mistake, just as the, where you share successes you've had and hope that people could, benefit from that. So that you give them a leg up, so to speak. That's what society's supposed to be. That's what each generation is supposed to do. Is to basically, it's like a stepping stone. And, for many years, that's the way it was. One generation basically laid the groundwork, laid down some stones for the foundation for the next generation to build upon. And each generation built, upon the previous until they achieved, a level of a high society, so to speak. Higher level of existence. And we're not doing that now in general. There's still people doing it. I'm doing it. I wouldn't be doing this show if I did. I'm not making money on the show, so obviously the only motivation for this is to help people. You don't, think about it. There's no fame from it. I've been much more famous, on my own than from this show. There's nobody right now. It says concurrent viewers on my YouTube studio thing that's always up when you're broadcasting live. It says 0 concurrent viewers. 0. I'm still lucky if I get 4 or 5 viewers for these videos, even after the fact. Which is really ridiculous, man. The idea that somebody could present to you the idea that this could happen, and see, the thing about this is, and I talked about this on other shows, and if you know about this, it's like the woolly mammoths that were found with food, undigested food inside their stomachs. So we're talking about flash freezing. And there's people that, I don't know what these guys talking about. He's wacky. Right? No. You can do the research on that. That's, yeah, they found woolly mammoths which are now extinct. In fact, it was an extinction event for them, and a bunch of other animals, especially in North America. They were flash frozen. So when this thing happens, like I said, when I say, the 1-2 punch, but this is like a 1-4 punch, it's going to be like Earth flips magnetic field, stops in its place. That causes tsunamis, means the Atlantic, the Pacific rolls over the U.S., the North America or Americas, and the Atlantic pours over, the European continent onward through to, Africa to China, the Indian Ocean, It's all one big ocean. They name it different things. Chinese Sea or whatever. What are they talking about? It's all the same thing, right? Because it's all connected, even the Mediterranean. So you have that. And then one part of the planet bakes. Then the atmosphere has to fill that void, and to create this sense of equilibrium. And there's ridiculous winds and stuff, and the atmosphere comes down, and then basically the Earth spins in the opposite direction. The poles are flipped now magnetically. The Earth has gone through some kind of tilt, and then it's ice age, and it's like flash frozen. And the ice, it's like Antarctica. It's like could be a mile thick. And this is the barrel of the gun that we're facing in the next year or two. That's not fear mongering. That's not like these stupid people saying be afraid of some thing, right? That every day comes out that, we've been handed a bunch of bull, by a bunch of profiteers who are now trying to extend this thing and create and just keep it going indefinitely so they could keep, making billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on it. And in the meantime, we got to worry if they're just trying to kill. There's 8 billion of us on the planet. Worry if they're trying to kill us off. Look, we got a near extinction event heading our way. And these people are what? Why are they trying to kill us off before it? Are they afraid there's going to be a mad dash and to get into their shelters that they've been building over the past couple decades? That DARPA's created these, this contest and these robotic devices to, is that it? Are they that simple-minded? Speaking of my, seed thing, years ago, you probably recall they had built that seed vault up in Svalbard. Do you know about that? Did you pay attention to that? Right? Now this is like real stuff. Yeah, they got a seed vault. They know this thing's coming. Decades ago, yeah, they built this thing up in Svalbard. Do you know where that is? You don't even know where that is, do you? I'm telling you. So yeah, what that's that question. I asked that in a couple of shows ago. So what's their end game? What are they doing this for? Right? If we're all looking at a near extinction event that's basically can be mapped back through the archaeological record in so many different ways that this occurred every 12,000 years, 12,000, 24,000 years ago, 36,000 years ago, right? And then we have all this evidence, hard evidence, the woolly mammoths. I've seen them. All right. I've been part of, worked on expeditions. All right. These things really were frozen in the ice and, and all this within the same time frame. The average person doesn't even have a frickin' clue. Right? They're like eating some crazy burger like this or something. Well, you can forget about that. If I were you, I'd find somebody like that and I'd just stay in bed for 2 weeks at least. 2 weeks. That would be fun. or do this, you know. If you're stuck inside, look at this crazy room I created. That's my bar. That's my kitchen. It's the kitchen bar. This picture was taken from like where the kitchen sink would be. And over to the right would be my washer and dryer. It's the ultimate multi-purpose room. You may or may not have heard that belch. I'm starting to wake up a little bit. I'm still like kind of just tired and stuff. But you can't stay in bed all the time, you know? Ugh. It's hard to sit and do a show. Like I've been sitting here now for well over an hour because before the show started, I had to prepare some graphics and, you know, get stuff together. It's kind of cold in here too. So, you know, T.G.I.F. Does it mean anything? It should. If you're a working stiff and a wage slave. If you're a wage slave at a low level, you should just quit your job and get, you know, if you're like below the poverty line and you have a kid or two, you ought to just take that, you know, let the government take care of you. Get the free health care, the free food, right? Housing allowance, and the $300 per kid cash, free daycare, free cell phone, discounted everything, you know. You're either rich or poor in this society right now. Everybody in between is going to be completely, they're trying to just wipe you out. There are actually fools in there who are thinking they have a value in their house. The people out there that actually, most people, really, that's why nobody watches this show. Because they don't want to hear the truth. It's cognitive dissonance. All right? They don't want to hear it. Your house is going to be worthless. Like you're screwed. If you're like you're what they used to call working class, middle class, or even upper middle class, because that's like nothing. You make $100,000 a year, that's nothing, right? If your net worth is like $1 million, you know, something, that's nothing. You're either like making tens of millions to hundreds of millions to $1 billion, or you're living like me at the poverty level. Anybody in between, yeah. $1 million means nothing. 100,000 means nothing. And certainly 60,000 is like paltry. You got a $30,000 job, useless. You're dead in the water, man. You're dead in the water. I mean, just look around. You just don't see the forest for the trees. And see these people. They have no empathy. They do not care about you. Like I've said 1,000 times on this show, you are cattle to them. That's all you are. And they no longer need you. I mean, wake up to that reality. Anyway.
The now sound. Another hour.
Another hour. This is hour 1.
Good morning.
So, I hate to give you being a downer, you know, and do that, but, you know, I guess, well, what can you do?
Weekend weather.
Let's take a break and look at the weekend weather. Currently, outside of my studio here, about the mid-Atlantic states, about an hour away from an entrance to the northern Appalachian Trail. It's 59 degrees. In the dog days of summer, it's 59 degrees. Think about that. Mid-Atlantic states. This isn't Canada. This isn't upstate New York, right? This isn't Vermont. This is the Mid-Atlantic states. It's 59 degrees. And there's people out there telling you that we got a climate crisis. And Angela Merkel was saying things to the effect of, we've got to really push to do something about this climate because of the floods. Look, that's tragedy what's going on over there. That's a real tragedy. All right? But, you know, the same tragedy happened in New Orleans, and the same tragedies happening in China and happening in other places too. There's a lot of that stuff happens down in, you know, areas, you know, in India, you know, Southeast Asia. You know, there's a lot of flooding events happen. And it's like, it's just the same with Tornado Alley, and it's around in the areas where the hurricanes occur. You have got to, same with the Mississippi in the U.S., when a thing happens, you don't rebuild with a stick home or the same levee or the same height of dam or the same, have your house or buildings or downtown district at the same level or without proper drainage and prepare. Oh, well, this is like a, you know, the flood of the century or the 30-year event. Yeah, okay, well, 30 years, there's going to be other people living there, and they're going to lose everything. Angela and everyone else. You know, it angers me to see that, to see human suffering, unnecessary human suffering. Same as going down with all this lockdown nonsense. It's 59 degrees in the dog days of summer, middle of the summer, July 23rd, 2021. It's going to get up to 81 degrees today, which is kind of low for the dog days of summer. It should be like 90, right? Tonight it's going to dip down to 59. Saturday, 84 degrees, partly sunny or partly cloudy, depending on whether you're a glass half full, glass half empty sort of person. 84 degrees, 68 degrees at night. That's kind of slightly uncomfortable. I'll probably have the AC on. Sunday, 60% chance of a thunderstorm, but the sun may come out. We'll probably be out. 84 degrees, 66 at night. And to start off your work week next week, Monday, it's looking like, again, partly sunny or partly cloudy. And then it's going to shoot up to 86, but 63 overnight, which will cool down. So that's your weekend weather, at least in my neck of the woods, which extends for a pretty good swath from the Ohio Valley, you know, mid-Atlantic states, northern Appalachians. You know, it covers a lot of territory in general. It'll fluctuate a few degrees here and there. But, you know, unless you're in certain northern mountainous regions or down south, you know. Florida, it's hot. All right? That's the forecast, you know. Like I say, I know people in Florida. I talk to them. It's hot. You can't imagine it. It's like, yeah, I know. I lived there. I lived on the Gulf Coast for like a couple of years. It was very hot. And I lived through a tropical storm. I even have a video of it somewhere out my window. You know. I don't even know where that thing is. I wonder if I could find that. And say, well, what that would do to my CPU. I was also supposed to look at some, let's see, media source. Well, we'll just call it media source. I'm going to see if I could find this thing. Restart playback when source becomes active. I don't want to restart it. I don't want to loop it. Close file when inactive. Yeah, definitely. All right, let me see if I can find this thing. Movies. I know I've seen this fairly recently, and then I've got to switch over to see what if I could get something from Trey. I just got to play this for the gag of it. See if this will play.
People, you sit there, you're in for one big surprise. People, you sit there, you're in for one big surprise. People, you sit there, you're in for one big surprise.
That was pretty funny. I knew enough to keep quiet. Old film clips. Let's see. No. Film clips. I'm gonna go to my CPU's looking pretty good, so I should be able to do this. Let's go to previous content, archives. Do I have movies here? Let's see. I'm doing a search now, so sorry. Just bear with me. This will all be worth it, just to show you, because I say these things, and there's so many doubters out there. That doesn't seem to be in that particular set. I have another area where I should have some some movies. Don't see any there. I'm getting a Charlie horse in my leg, which kind of stinks. It's got to be in his archive. Music, movies. Garden tour. Mandelbrot set. The Rain. Which one was that? The Toast. I guess we don't want to look at the Zapruder film. This is pretty interesting. We'll show you a second of this or so. I don't know if this will show or not. This might drive the CPU wild. Yeah, pretty crazy. Definitely crazy. All right, let me go try to see if I could find something here on see, because I don't know if I could even do this thing, because the Mac, what am I even doing? That's not even the way to do this. Come on, stop. This is one of those weird shows where I'm looking for stuff. But, these little tidbits that do eventually come out are worth it. Now, let's see. Come on. CPU up to 8.3%. And let's see here. Okay. 19 hours ago there. Messenger. I'm looking. Sent an attachment. All right. Attachment unavailable. So much for that. Yes. Forward, react, more. Remove, reply. Let me move this over. I got to keep an eye on my CPU. See if I can somehow pull this out. No, it doesn't. Attach photo or video. See what that does. Desktop. Doesn't seem to want to let me do it. Let's try. So let me select this here. Here we go. Now that's forward. Count. Yeah. Quality. Volume. Download. There we go. Okay. Now, let me look at my downloads. Move this. I do not know if this is the one that I was supposed to be looking for. Okay? Because there may well be one in the process. Because it says, but that says Monday 10 a.m. And this one says... That's why I don't use these programs. July 21. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here is quit out of this. I'm going to go to Media Source, Properties, Browse, Desktop, and the volume on this might be a little bit louder. It's not going to be one of those soft things, but at least I'm not going to talk over it like I did the last time. So anyway, let's check this out. Well, that was quick. Let's look at that again. So that, my friend, is the best I can do. So we're back. Okay.
This is insane.
There's been a lot of quietness on this show. I realize that. So, excuse me. Let's get back to this program. So we see the ocean waves, the beauty of that. My concept of you having fun yet. The beauty of what is woman. It's like a neat phrase. The beauty of what is woman. All right. Photography. You know, the cycle of life. Flower to seed, seed to flower. You know, these are interesting things. Well, a seed is really fascinating. You know, it's the same as genetics. I was talking about this, like I said, with someone the other day. And I was trying to make that point that, you know, it really is amazing. You know, and especially some of the more complicated plants. Like I was pulling seeds out of like a kale plant, you know, which feeds us. And the process it goes into being pollinated and then producing these odd seed pods. And inside those seed pods are these tiny little black specks. Like you wouldn't even, you could barely see them with your eye. And that little tiny black speck ends up becoming a plant that feeds people. Right? And that feeds you all summer long. You know, or even into the fall. When people take all this stuff for granted, you know. The beauty that is woman. And then the idiocy of Western civilization, particularly like the former United States, this kind of crap. I mean, that's ridiculous. Doesn't even look enticing, really. I mean, you got to be, it's like gross in a sense. Though there's probably some people out there going, man, I wish I could have one of those right now. So I was just trying to get into this idea that, and of course that, I don't know if that was the ocean wave video that I was supposed to grab or not. I don't have the best of luck using Facebook because I'm not a Facebooker. And I have to go through hoops to grab something. And I don't know if my Facebook account it's showing things that are from the 21st. You know. So I don't know if it does it have to be refreshed somehow? I don't know. Like I said, I'm just not into social media, and I was never really into Facebook. I did get down the Twitter rabbit hole for a while last year, but I realized that was a waste of time and an exercise in futility after I saw that the corporatocracy took control last fall and, you know, well, really took control, if you think about it, last, you know, late winter, spring, you know. They've made their decision, what they want to do, and we still don't know what it is. And what I'm trying to get at is that you've got, the only way to survive this is you have to have fun. And you have to be one of these people that appreciates beauty. You know, I'll take one more look here. Like I say, because I fixed my CPU problem. And I'll see if maybe I was just a little bit early. Let's see if I can find something here. July 21st is the last thing. Friend request. I have no idea who that person is. Three days ago, someone sent me an attachment. It's 6:45 a.m., my friend, if you are watching. And I have nothing. I have nothing. I have nothing showing here. So, person may have gotten eaten by a shark. Land shark on the beach. So, you know, I realize it's a quiet show, but it's 6:46 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the morning. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be too loud anyway. But this recurring theme that I've been like kind of pressing recently, and sporadically along the way, these hundreds of shows I've been doing, is that, you have to appreciate the beauty of nature, and, some people think, look at me like kind of strange, but, like I say, appreciate the beauty that is woman. That's part of the beauty of nature, just the way it is, for me anyway. And then this idea, this beach ball here, what I talked about a little while ago, are you having fun, right? Does T.G.I.F mean anything to you, right? And you could take that two ways. Like, one, are you a wage slave, and do you slave all week long, and your gift, your reward is that you are given, a night out, and then the rest of the time spent doing laundry, cleaning the house, taking care of things, going on errands, buying things, getting the stuff you need, and then back Monday morning back at the old grind, rat race. Meanwhile, we're all facing, we're standing on the precipice of, this near extinction event that no one's talking about and has nothing to do with climate crisis. This has to do with the sun and the solar cycle and something that happens every 12,000 years that our government knows about and has built shelters already for. The chair. It's crazy. I know, it's crazy. I shouldn't have to do this. Most people just sit on a chair and do a show because they got one of those $300 chairs or whatever the heck they cost. I don't know. But, you have to look at it that way. And that's why, I've got this tinted view now that I'm sticking with, kind of, because I like it. It's interesting. And nobody else's colorization is quite like this. And I've left the sea monkeys up for a while just because I think it's kind of goofy and weird and retro-y and kind of follows in with things. But, and you could see my book Codex in the background. But you got to have fun. You just got to have fun. And you got to take things lightly. That's the other thing that I just find that people aren't doing. That it's just like, when was the last time you hung out with some people
Really funny. Really funny.
and really had like a belly laugh? When was the last time you guffawed? When was the last time you had a stitch in your side from laughing so hard, fell off a sofa onto the floor laughing? Think about that. When was the last time that happened? It used to happen to me all the time. I mean, I used to laugh so much, And, I noticed, like, when I went through the serious stage and I was stressed out and all that kind of stuff, and I wasn't really having like that laughter, I suddenly had all these health problems, including the big C, So I'm trying to take life a lot lighter now. And even if it means, drinking at my own bar, which is not necessarily medicinally or, health-wise, maybe perhaps the smartest thing to do, consuming alcohol and smoking a cigar. But if it gives me happiness, I'm sorry, let me drop everything and work on your problem. Diet Fago. Yeah, so I got one of these things so I could say, hey, what's her name? Turn on the light in my bedroom, which last night I got up like around 3 or 4 times for some reason. So I tested it 3 times. It's kind of neat. I want to get one for my kitchen, but I want to put a light. You see, here's the bar. I want to put a light. I have that bar light there, and it looks like the room's kind of lit up, but in the morning it's really dark down here. And I want to put a light in the middle. Like, so if you can see on the bar where that mug, big, beer mug is, I want to have a light above that ceiling there, hanging down. And I want to have the voice assistant. It's very hard to see in this. It's if you see the ashtray, that clear glassy thing, and then there's next to it is like a coaster, and then there's this, it's hard to see, but there's a black like hockey puckish thing. That's the Echo Dot, which is basically now my bar jukebox. So it's nice. I mean, I really do really kind of like it. And I, like I said, I was playing yesterday. I was just listening to like some Motown classics, but just kept throwing in like Lionel Richie and stuff. And it's like, I know he's Motown, but I never really liked, that stuff. I'm more of like, the classic Motown sound, upbeat, and even Marvin Gaye and stuff like that. But I mean, it's got to be, Martha and the Vandellas and Temptations and, all that kind of stuff, fun party music, upbeat. That's the whole idea, You don't want to wallow in all these odd songs, I mean, there's a time and place for that, I guess, But, at this point, it's like I think we all should be trying to have as much fun as possible and doing as much things that give us the sensory input of of ecstasy almost, so I mean, while some moron may think that that's just gluttony and disgusting, but there's people wasting their time on that. Excuse me. Whereas I would rather waste my time on that. Well, it wouldn't be a waste of time. Same there. Gilda. It's crazy. Yeah. That's what we're heading for. Minus the guy. He ain't going to make it. Unless this DARPA project works and he's the first one out. See, my feeling is that what's going to happen is that these shelters that the government so selfishly have created, and the reason they want to kill us off with these chimera things that they've developed now that has pretty much come out, right? These man-made, bioweapons. That they're thinking, we got to get rid of people so they don't, we could save ourselves. The heck with with all these other, the heck with the cattle. Well, those things are going to fill up with lava. They're going to become lava tubes. And when those DARPA robots come down to open up the tube, it's just going to flow out lava. Everyone's going to be basically, dissolved. Like in one of those James Bond movies or something where somebody's hanging over a vat of some kind of molten metal or something, or acid. But the only downside about being totally free like I am is that, sometimes you're just bored. Or getting yourself motivated to do certain things. And I do a lot of things. I have successfully grown that garden. Right. And I have food. A lot of food. I do have a funny picture. It was on my Instagram account. My Instagram account is not strictly, but nearly 100%. No, well, that's a ridiculous statement. Not nearly 100%. Is mostly garden related, I'm warming up my iPhone right now. I'm going to show you a picture I took yesterday. I got my first, because I've talked about this to people, and I might have mentioned it on the show. I got my first zucchini yesterday. So it's like, I was stoked, as they say. The iPhone should pop up at there it is. And so that was the picture of the bar. And this, I don't know if this gets any bigger. No, it's the same thing. This is just a little arrangement with 2 tomatoes, some kale at the top, and my zucchini from yesterday. You could take, I have no idea why Valerie Bertinelli notification would come up. And of course, that's just an older picture. But I just thought I'd show you that. That's really it. I have to disconnect that. Weird notifications. So yeah, I got my first zucchini. So I do spend time. I do kind of clean up the garden. I have to do some cleaning up because some of my vines are heading towards my psychotic neighbor, and that must be driving her crazy. They're going towards one of her windows, so I have to get the rake and clippers and clip those down so that they don't work their way over to her house. I have to do that today because today was, I believe, when we talked weather-wise, yeah, it's going to be sunny and 70 around 10 o'clock. That's about the time when I'll go outside because I'll watch this video and relax a little bit and then I'll go outside, grab some sun, and mess around the garden. I got to feed the birds when this is over. This is a little slow. This is a slower video today. It just seems, I don't know why. It's not, maybe it's my mood or something. I don't know exactly. But it's still thematically, it's still the same idea. It's just this, I don't know, people don't want to talk about it, but to me, this actually makes sense. This idea of, are you having fun yet? And that should be your motivation. Forget everything else. I mean, everywhere I see it, I just don't see people having fun in the pure sense of the word. And all I see them trying to do is try to force people to have less fun. It's like bring back the lockdown. And some countries are way worse than here. I saw something in Australia, New South Wales. They were talking about, if you run into a neighbor outside or in a grocery store or something, avoid conversations with them. Avoid conversing in person. And, it's funny, they've only had like one death, and it was somebody who was like 80 or over 80 years old who had comorbidities. And they're like re-implementing this like draconian stuff now and saying you can't, locking them, the country down. I mean, that country is like one of the worst. Canada's pretty bad too, but I mean, the Australians have been really like treated the worst. And I find that really, it's so weird because I've been to Australia 3 different times. I mean, this is years ago, but 3 different times I spent, and I didn't go for like a vacation for a weekend or a week or something. I mean, when I was there for several weeks at a time and stuff. And what I found was that the Australians were, were their own, their own people, they didn't get in lockstep. It was a natural disrespect for authority in a sense. Like I can remember the bar I was drinking at, one of the first bars I drank at when I got there, because I got off the plane, checked into my hotel up in King's Cross, and I went to this bar, and because you're wired when you get up, you fly across the Pacific Ocean, crying out loud. So I think we had a brief stopover in New Zealand, but this was the first time I went over. So I go to this bar just to unwind, grab a couple beers. And their beer's stronger than ours, by the way. But at least it's cold, not like in the UK. You remember, I told this story before, going over to the UK, I went into a pub, and they gave me this pint, and it was warm. And I'm like, I want to drink warm beer. The Australians like cold beer. I like everything. I liked everything about Australia. But anyway, there was a big sign behind the bar. We don't call police. In fact, I ended up partying there for a pretty long time because, the Australians are very friendly people, and especially in a pub, it's a good time. It's just a good time. And somewhere down the end, 2 guys got into a fight. They went out the side door, and I guessed in the alley, and maybe had some fisticuffs with one another, but came back in and stood next to each other and, had a beer together. But that's how it was. So the idea of to me, from my visits and knowing people from Australia, to see them put up with this absurdity that's going on right now is just a mind blower, because it's just so uncharacteristic. And I traveled, into the outback, so to speak, as well as spending time in Sydney and all around Sydney, and in different places with different groups of people. So it wasn't like I was just around, one class, so to speak, of people or whatever. No, it seemed universal. from you would call the common man to the people in the entertainment business, which I was down there for, to people in, just traveling out in the outback and in this backcountry type of stuff, and just, the average run-of-the-mill person, Australia. But yeah, they're being tormented down there. Tormented. And I guess in certain states in this country, the same thing is going on. So you ask somebody, are you having fun? Yet, it's like, not really. Now, if you ask me, it's like, yeah, I'm having fun. In fact, a friend of mine's supposed to come down today, and I'm going to get a chance to go, I'll show you how my life is and the type of things that I have fun doing. Get a chance to go to the Dollar Tree because I need a few odds and ends, and also stop at the nursery, the garden nursery, and get a few things there. I mean, I need to get some bird seed, and they have good bird seed. And I'm also going to check. I want to plant some Swiss chard. This is a good time to have Swiss chard to grow, but I want to see what they have left over in their greenhouse. If they have anything, any starts that I could put in, and and that way have it. Like I say, there's about 60 days left in summer, more or less. And we certainly won't have the first frost until sometime in, may come in October. Because like I say, we have 7 months of winter nowadays. We're lucky if we get 1 month of fall, 1 month of spring, and like 3 months of summer. And that's pretty much a big swath of the U.S. geographically. And even similar locations, globally. And that's like just totally throws this 0.004 CO2 and Paris Accord and all that stuff right out the window, when you look at it that way. And like I say, the 800-pound gorilla up in the sky is the sun, because, that, after all, it's solar heat, right? Controls the climate of the planet and the magnetic fields and solar outburst, etc. Sunspots, things the average person doesn't even seems to be oblivious about. Like I've often said, people see nighttime comes and it gets cooler because the sun, the sun's not in the sky. And then, and then the sun comes out and it warms up, or they get a sunburn or a suntan, and they just don't put two and two together. It's like, yeah, it's the sun, dummy. Kind of like Bill Clinton. It's the economy, stupid. Right? It's the sun. How much more obvious do you have to be? Right? It's that beach ball in the sky. Yellow beach ball. So I just, so that's fun for me. I'm trying to build an outdoor sink, and I wish I could get one. There's a place across the street where I bought a vanity because I rebuilt or expanded my upstairs bathroom when I first moved in this house. I have 1.5 baths, and I have a small, just a WC downstairs, right? Which people call a half bath, but half bath makes no sense because there's no bath in it. It's just a, toilet and a sink, water closet, basically, WC. But I want to put, like, because I grow so many vegetables, and some vegetables you really got to clean, and it's a process, and I don't want to bring that into the house because they're covered with dirt. So it's like I could already harvest. I've harvested some potatoes. And I've gone through the weird stuff of having a strainer on the ground, one of those like a pasta strainer thing, and shooting the hose on them and trying to clean them off that way. And it's just, it's messy, you get wet, and it's not just the way you want to do it. And then I have a lot of these chive type of things. I have a whole other potato crop that needs, it doesn't need to, but I want to pull out of the ground because that's where I'd like to put the Swiss chard, in that spot. Because every spot right now in my garden is taken up with something. I've got carrots growing. They're not ready for harvest, but they'll be ready to harvest in another month. And they're in the ground, root type of thing. So they require cleaning before you bring them in the house, because you don't want to put dirt down your sink and clog your drains. So what I want to do is I want to build some kind of outdoor makeshift sink with with some kind of counter next to it. And I have the space next to this garage by my patio that's just filled with weeds. It's kind of an out of control area, and that would be a good excuse for me to have a project to clean it up. But between the cost of lumber, to support a normal sink, forget that. But either way, I need lumber because I'm going to have to build some kind of counter thing. I thought I could make a sink by using some kind of plastic bin that I might find at the Dollar Tree. Like these plastic rectangular things, that people use as not so much a tote, though that is even a possibility. In fact, I have some. Well, they're too deep. I don't want something too deep. I wanted just enough to be a sink, and then I could make a round hole in the bottom of it, and then, put like a sink strainer. And I think I have an old one from my kitchen sink, because anyway, to make a long story longer, it's a project. But I'm always doing little projects like that, and this is a challenging one because I don't have the materials I need. And those are the kinds of things you do when you're free. And you're just trying to make your life better and more self-sufficient, especially when you're growing all these vegetables. And I'm having a good year. I had a good lettuce crop. My tomatoes are growing very well, and they taste fantastic. They're sweet, They're just really good. And so now I got my first zucchini, like I showed you. And, if you get one, you're likely to get more. So last year I didn't get any zucchinis at all. And it looks like there's a couple other ones that may come in. I'm just hoping that we get a good rainstorm, because there's something about the rain, as opposed to using the hose and watering your garden and stuff, that you get one of those good healthy rain days where it rains all day. The next day you've got these zucchinis that just like bam, they just like balloon out. It's like they grow. It's like they appear overnight. It's insane. So, that's one of my things that I'm doing. And like I said, the bar, like it or not, healthy or not, I'm still under this belief of the idea that you're healthier if you're laughing or having a good time or being happy than you are if you're filled with stress and unhappy. And so that let me get rid of the title card. This is a heart attack in a sandwich. Basically. Heartburn and a heart attack between the peppers and whatever. That's like ridiculous. But you'd probably still, if you were a jolly guy, happy, go lucky, guffawing later on that night, you're still probably more likely to be healthier than someone who's sitting there eating some kind of organic, vegan, gluten-free dinner and who's all stressed out, right? Hates their job, stressed out, unhappy, he's got a sourpuss on their face, caught up in watching the political news every night, getting caught up in some kind of issues, doesn't understand that this is the former United States, or that the corporatocracy exists and it's part of an organized crime syndicate that runs the world. That kind of person. Well, that kind of person's more likely to keel over, 20 years earlier than the person who's eating a crap meal, crap diet, but who's happy and laughing and, and just feeling good and getting a good night's sleep and all that stuff. So that's my message of the day. That's this whole idea. It's a simplistic thing. Are you having fun yet? Have fun. T.G.I.F. Does that mean anything to you? It's like, I realize people still have to work because they're not everybody could do what I did, right? Escape, scale down, right? Or are at the point in their life where they're ready to do that. But be that as it may, if you're still caught up in the rat race in one way, shape, or form, you have to have fun, is this how you spend your weekend? And in some sick, demented way, are you actually having fun doing this? That house is going to come to haunt you. They're going to raise the taxes on those property taxes. That's part of the plan, Real estate is this real estate boom that's going on right now. That's part of this great reset plan. Like I said, the first one was to bring back the welfare state under the guise of the child tax credit, which is actually a payment to pacify people at the poverty level so they don't do what's going on in South Africa, which you're not even aware of. Okay, that's number one. And then number two is to basically have this real estate thing occur so that people drain all of their Bitcoin and stock market millions, right, into property in the U.S., so that then they can steal that transfer of wealth. That's what the Great Reset is. It's the World Economic Forum, the focus on economic. And the Great Reset is about resetting the economies of the world, the monetary setup. And so as people are thinking they're putting this cloud money, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever, stock market earnings into hard property, they're not realizing that shoots up the value of real estate, and then that gives the corporatocracy, aka the government, the ability to raise the property taxes. So in effect, whether you buy the house with cash or not, you're going to be paying these ridiculously high taxes. And the kicker is, if you don't pay those taxes, then the government forecloses. And basically, that is one of the PSAs that the New World or the World Economic Forum put out that says you will own nothing and you will be happy. And so that's their other snidely whiplash way of taking away, of the government getting control of property. That's like the communistic idea. You see? These are very shrewd people, and they have a series of steps, and they've been working on this for a number of years. It used to be called Agenda 21, then it was Agenda 2030. And now it's the Great Reset. It's the same thing. And they're implementing these things one after the other. And that's why we can't trust this unspeakable thing, because it's quite possible and very likely that this is also part of the Great Reset. As sick as that may sound to people who have empathy, who aren't narcissistic sociopaths or psychopaths. But these people at the top, all right, they're an organized crime syndicate. The corporatocracy is in business to just, they're corporations. They don't care. They're not in the business of, of caring about people. They're just worrying about quarter over quarter and year over year profits, returns for their shareholders. They have no allegiance, to any government. They don't care about any left or right, red or blue. They'll support issues of the day just because it's something that there's a financial benefit in it for them. That's the only reason. Their shareholders will benefit at that time, but they'll change like the weather if they have to. And so you have to be very careful about that if you're one of those people. And you don't want to be sitting, like I say, I use that example, the musical chairs. The music's playing now, it sounds great, everything looks great, your life looks great. But when the music stops, you want to make sure you have a chair. You don't want to be left standing. And if you're sitting on one of these big pieces of real estate or a house, just even one of these houses in a development that's got a 2 or 3 car garage and the classic golf course lawn. Good God, boy, people in their lawns cracks me up. And you're living above your means, and you got 2 SUVs. And your costs are really high, and you think, well, between me and the wife, we're bringing in some good money, we can afford this, blah, 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 we'll be able to retire. It's like, you better start thinking about scaling down and watch what they do, because this thing is coming at you like a freight train. And the billionaires are saying this is 3 to 6 months away, from when the music stops. So it gives you a little bit of time, but not much. So you really got to scale down. You really got to look at your budget. You got to look at what you're paying, what you're doing. And health-wise, you got to definitely make sure your immune system is at its peak, optimal performance. Because we don't know what else they're going to pull out of their sleeve, what's going to come down the pike. Birds are starting to die and stuff like that. Like I say, they're the canary in the coal mine. So there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on, and not to mention that we're, facing down the barrel of a near extinction event that, could happen at any time. The Earth's magnetic field is very weak. We're just open to all sorts of things. Cosmic rays and solar rays and whatever. Like I say, my ice cubes melt from electromagnetic radiation. You think that's crazy? I know you do. Let's see here. Things on. Harmful. I don't know if you could read the harmful thing because of the flashing. Stops when you point it away from the device. Point it near the computer. Yeah. Ouch. So, yeah. It's all real. You know, I'm not playing games here. Like I said, I don't get paid to do this. I don't make any money on this show. So, I got no reason to, fear monger. Right? There's no benefits. Nobody bought my shirt. Any of my shirts. Or my mugs. Or Great Solar stuff. Yeah. I don't even think people are going to TonyCaravanLive.com. I've had better input from some of the more obscure places where I place links to these videos. And it's just in conversing, just, more open-minded people. So all that said, I guess it's time to
Good morning.
end this thing. So thanks for watching. Visit TonyCaravanLive.com and click on a link and get yourself a shirt, a hoodie for the fall, or some kind of something from Great Solar Stuff or one of those places. It'll help support the channel, at least show me that, there's interest in me doing this thing.